It's gone.
You got assigned to do a bunch of projects, Sarah. Sorry about that.
Uh-oh.
Don't ever leave the screen.
Don't leave the screen. Okay.
That's
Well,
right.
too late now. I'll be ready for next time.
Kathy's muted, so we can't hear her.
You can be therapeutic, sir, with all your projects.
There you go. Hi. So you guys don't mute at all.
All right.
I wanted to start off with a devotion today from this book, When God is Silent by Barbara Brown Taylor. I wanted to ask you before though, what are some words that you would use to describe this past year? What was some words that you would use to describe this past year?
Different.
Challenging, frustrating.
Yes, that was mine.
Distant.
And any others?
Adjustment.
How about contemplative?
You're mute. Okay,
Any others?
A chance to focus on things that I've now found to be really important.
Values.
Lonely.
Lonely. Yeah.
Overworked.
Yeah.
Togetherness.
Ooh. Forced togetherness. Well, as I've talked with some folks, one of the words that people have been naming for me is they feel like God is silent. And that's what brought to mind this book. And I want to read to you. She writes these words. Silence was the backdrop against which the word began to be heard. I'm going to take this off for a minute. While Jesus stood in the wings, John the Baptist prepared the way, using such ferocious language that many must have expected a fire-breathing Messiah to drop from the sky. Instead, it was Jesus who came among them, making so little noise that even John did not know who he was at first. Even when he spoke, Jesus created silence. Many of his sayings were so cryptic that no response was possible, while others were so offensive that replies were withheld. Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you, from the Gospel of Luke. Any questions? I read this from this passage, and even as we heard about COVID 1 year ago today, this weekend, it felt like this was a big, massive wave coming. Something that we couldn't see, but we were told to be afraid of it. We were told to be aware of it, cautious of it. And yet we were still in the silence because we didn't know. We knew nothing about it. And to think that Jesus came in the middle of that silence so long ago. And Jesus often leaves us in silence. And that gospel reading, I'll read it one more time. From Luke chapter 6. Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. I feel like he's saying here, care about other people. I really do. Care about other people, whether you like them or not. Whether you agree with their politics or not, whether you agree with their theology or not. I feel like it's just a simple message of love other people and actually intentionally care for others, because it takes some intentionality to, especially to care for those who tick you off. So I just say this day, as we think about where we've been this year, reflective and forced togetherness, and as we think about where we've been in the silence of this year, know that God has been there every step of the way. How about we pray? God Almighty, thank you for this sacred time, this chance to gather and to know, God, that you are fully present with us. God, we ask now that you just be with us as we continue our meeting time, but God, that we stay steady and strong going forward into a new year of ministry, and God, that for those quiet moments, those silent moments, either when we're dumbfounded or awestruck, or when we're simply confused or at a loss, God, thank you for holding us close in those silent moments too. And always encourage us and remind us to put the care for others first. God, may we be strong so we can do that. With Jesus now we pray. Amen. Amen. Any initial questions or reactions to that passage? All right. Well, let's move on. I want to offer just a few moments here of board introductions, board members. Our leadership board is the team that put this together today, and our bounce back team. So we have board members in alphabetical order. I thought we'd just go down the list here. Starting with you, Judy. Are you still? Yeah, Judy's still here. Your name, your role, and one benefit to serving on the board.
I am Judy Atkinson, SPRC, also secretary, and I think it makes me feel more involved. I understand a lot more things, especially honestly being secretary. It forced me to watch, I have to watch the video again, and it just makes me understand how everything works behind the scenes.
Thank you, Judy. I will introduce myself. I know all of you, but hi. I'm Pastor Kathy, and I'm also the PowerPoint for today. So if you have any technical problems, I'll try my best to troubleshoot. So, Ronnie.
Well, I'm new this year, so it's been a while since I've been on the board. So, although with SPRC, I did that before, so hopefully I won't be too far behind into that stuff. So looking forward to just seeing how things have been going behind the scenes and learn more about, and let's see where I can come in to help.
Thank you. Ken.
Hi, I'm Ken Critton. I'm the treasurer on the board. And I guess one benefit is I've been able to use skills that I picked up along the way of my life to help our church. And often you see what goes on behind the scenes, and the making of the sausage is the old phrase. And I'm really happy that it's not as bad as I thought it might be. So.
Thank you. Pam.
Pam Dunkel, and I'm on the board. Mostly it gives me a chance to figure out how I can best serve at Stoughton.
Well, welcome. I'm glad you're with us. Ricky.
Yes, hi, I'm Ricky Howland, and I'm part of the facilities team, and I help take care of the grounds and the parsonage and the church. Things go wrong to look into it, and I got to say I'm very thankful for Tom Olson, because I'm kind of like the vice president. I take his lead, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ricky. Ruth. You're muted, Ruth. There you go.
Okay, I'm Ruth Lawton and I'm new this year on the memorials. I just want to do something to help and learn more about how things work on the backside, I guess.
Well, thank you, Tom.
Tom Olson, I'm working, like Ricky said, with him on facilities end of it. Was a trustee for years and years. Glad to share the knowledge that I have with the church, and a big benefit is being able to stay kind of connected with people being on the board this year, because it's not a lot of good ways to stay connected in the past year. So
Thank you, Tom. Jean.
Hello, I'm Jean Schwaslong, and I am connected through the food pantry. And it's really good to see how all the rest of the church, how it functions, and the issues and the celebrations that we have through our church.
Sounds good. And Deb.
Hi, I'm Deb Vertigan. I'm the worship chair. And I like being on the ALB because I like seeing how our different areas come together and make the weaving that is the church.
Very cool. Well, thank you, everyone. This is my plea for nominations. We do have some openings. When we are not in church conference season, which is in the fall, the ALB can name nominations and accept nominations to fill some open spots. It does take a team, and it takes a creative team, a multi-gifted team, to keep the church running smoothly, especially in this time of COVID. The work of the ALB is especially vital. You can see that there's some help needed. Help is needed, especially in two areas, two of the most important areas in our church, outside of our worship time, our finance area and our SPRC area. If you are feeling nudged, or you're feeling like maybe you could help with those, drop me an email, let me know. My email address is there, but it's just pastor at our web address. So any questions, anybody? Okay, well, thank you for that, for sharing. So I thought we would start, and don't worry, we will take a break part of the way through this time together. I thought we would start with two stories of ministry from the front lines. This past year of COVID ministries has forced us to be creative about the work that we do. So we'll start first here with, oh no, that's the wrong one. There it is, worship. So Deb has brought a worship report for us today.
Okay, worship and its related elements have and are still taking place during this COVID era, just in different, more creative ways. Well, we can't wait for the day to come when we can finally reopen the sanctuary and regularly worship in person. You know, we have continued worship. Worship can take place anywhere, inside the sanctuary, outside the church, inside our homes. And so we have kept worship going in one way or the other. During the summer, our worship experiences were safely held outside at various members' and friends' homes. Many people who hosted got the opportunity to become participants in worship, and many more viewed the services on YouTube and felt a new sense of connection with God and with their neighbors. Other worship times we had were videotaped beforehand in our sanctuary with a small worship team following COVID care. And also some services were broadcast live from our church and sometimes live from Pastor Kathy's home, I think, right?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Well, it looked like it. It looked really live. But wherever they occurred, God was worshiped, Jesus was praised, and the Spirit was present among us. We had special worship times such as communion, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and other holidays. We had gift bags that were safely distributed to members and friends that had symbolic worship elements. Pastor Kathy and her team collected, organized, and delivered these gifts to members and friends' homes, or had people drive here in at our carport to pick them up. Another aspect of worship that was affected was, of course, music. And when we learned in March that the virus spread among many Washington State choir members after they had sung together, we knew that we could not continue with our music program the way it was. We could not have hymn sings, we could not have choir anthems inside the church without putting ourselves at great risk. But we couldn't just let the music stop either. We had to figure out a way to still do it. Kathy, Deb, and Julie met regularly on Wednesdays to sing and record hymns. Jean sometimes helped us sing as well. Those songs were then incorporated into our recorded services, and we had online lyrics so people could sing along with us from their homes. I have pre-recorded the service music at my home with the help of my keyboard. I tape it on a cell phone, and then Kathy inserts it in the service. Although it took us a while to get together and figure out how to do choir, we finally did. There was kind of a learning curve involved. We had to watch a lot of tutorials for several hours and take notes and then rewatch them again on how to successfully create a virtual choir. But we did it. I make some parts that I send out to the choir members, like basses get their part, altos get their parts. And so they listen to their part via their phone or their computer, and they practice. And then when they're ready to record, they use earbuds or earphones plugged into their computer. They sing along with the practice track, and then another device is recording them, such as their cell phone. And then they send it in to Barry and I. So praise God, we finally got that going, and hopefully it's a blessing to everyone. Not to forget our handbell choir. It's not stopped either. You know, we were following Dane County health guidelines when they said it was too risky to meet. We did not meet. But when those restrictions were lifted, we had the bells back in our sanctuary. They were separated by lots of social distancing. They each had their own music stand. And so in that way, we were able to safely do bells. So thank you to everyone who has been working so hard to make music, to keep it safe. Thank you, everyone.
Any questions for Deb? Just about the last year? That is a wonderful recap of what we've been through and what the front lines for worship looks like right now. Okay. Well, the next frontline ministry that we have is our food pantry. And Jean, you want to scoot a little closer there to the screen? I'll walk you through the slides.
Okay.
So the first one there is procedures.
Okay.
These are the slides you gave me.
First of all, First of all, can I just say thank you to the whole congregation and to the community for all the support our pantry has had through the years, and it has been amazing. And two words that come to mind this morning are adjustment and abundance. And I'll get into those a little bit. But our procedures, we have changed because of COVID. And this was a figuring out time as well. The neighbors stay outside in their vehicles, masks are required. Food pantry workers check them in with COVID care in place. And groceries are bagged up, frozen, and all the different parts, refrigerator, bread, bakery, produce, canned boxes, snacks, and pet food. And we have right now five or six people. Each has an area to take care of when they come in. And then the carts are loaded, set outside, and the neighbors then load them into their vehicles. And if it's a person that cannot possibly do the lifting or whatever, then a person would help them. Then carts are sanitized upon returning to the building. It's been an adjustment, and the last couple of weeks we've been using an order form so they can check off. And some choose to just take what they can get, and the other people choose the foods that they would like. So it's an adjustment for us. And our food sources, this is amazing, amazing, amazing. We have 3 quick trips that we pick up from. Pick and Save, Aldi's, Local Gardeners, Saturday Farmers Market, that's the organic market. Second Harvest, Dane County Community Action Coalition, members of the church and the community businesses. We can't thank everyone enough. When we have springtime and gardening time, it's amazing. People pull up to the door and unload cases of produce, apples, berries, whatever they have grown. So it's just an amazing source. In fact, we have such an abundance right now that on Wednesdays, we get the food in from Quick Trip, we pack it up, package it up, and Francis usually fills the van, or Tom Olson helps him to travel up to St. Vinny's on, I can't think what it is, but in Madison. And they take all the food that we have extra. So our abundance is not wasted. And this is this 2020 numbers, and our numbers are down some from the other years because of the change in times. We went from 2 days to 1, but also I think with the different amounts that people have gotten for support, we saw fewer people coming. So 59 and under is 778. You can read that. Over 60 to 288. Children 519. And the total, we've reached 1,585 people. And we have 625 households. And this is non-repeating households. So these are the number that we reach within our community. And I would like to say, we really need to grow this. We would love to grow this number. If anybody knows of neighbors, friends, people at work, or people you come in contact with that have a need of any kind, we can support them with food. We have an abundance of wonderful, wonderful food. And we can use it to help families so that they can use their resources other places. Grant writer Lori Olson, thank you, Lori. And I think if I've made a mistake on this, maybe Lori can speak up to say where our grants have come from. But we are abundance with money. We have a great amount of money that we can buy healthy food, and we don't have to worry where it's coming from. We can purchase. So Lori, do you have any input on the ones, the Stoughton Foundation, Bryant, Wallene, Shillelagh? Are there others?
These are just the foundations,
Okay.
because there were so many gifts this year from individuals who are a part of our congregation, but so many that were not a part of our congregation that they just knew about us and sent a check. And there was one really good story from a woman who sent a check and said, I went to a yoga class this week, and the person at the Stoughton yoga or whatever, it was in Stoughton, said to her, you don't need to pay for your class this week. Just do something good for something in our community. And so she sent our food pantry a check. So there was a number of really good stories like that.
That's cool.
Excellent. Excellent. Again, thank you. Yes, and the checks that we got in were not small. They were amazing. You know, $1,000 was from, you know, and yeah, it's amazing. So, and thank you again. And I hope I haven't missed anybody's names, but this is the group that helps day to day and lifts the heavy load and asks for what else they can do. So we continue to reach out to those that are hungry. Again, we need more clients. Our food is amazing. The meats that we get in, I mean, there are top cuts of roasts and beef and wonderful. And also our largest resource, Second Harvest, is looking at providing more healthy food. And that's always been something we've been looking at, providing food that is healthy for our clients. So no one in the area needs to go hungry. And also we are designated as an emergency pantry. If you know of anybody that's in an emergency situation, give us a call and we can help them out.
Any questions for Jean? Or comments, I should say?
Sorry about that. Yes, I would like to comment that some of our neighbors have their groceries delivered, which falls on Francis to do that. And lately he's been having some help from his son-in-law, I believe. But I just thought, yeah, we need to recognize that sometimes our neighbors can't come to us, but they still need our help. And so I think that's very important. Not that we
Thank
do
you.
it a lot, but you know, those that are
Awesome.
capable come. But that's very
Well,
important.
I hope in the near future, sir, I'll be able to come down and help out Francis again. I got my second shot, so I'm good. So I gotta wait till Sandy gets her 2 shots, and then I'll wait a 2-week period, and then I'll look forward to coming down and helping out again.
There you go.
I just want to add something to Sarah and Jean. Our newest and youngest food pantry volunteer is Jean and Francis's granddaughter, Caitlin. And Caitlin also has been going with Francis to do some deliveries, and she's very good. She's very helpful in the pantry, and she's just a beautiful breath of fresh air. And she's just so helpful, and it's so nice to be able to have her helping us.
Wonderful. Thank
Cool,
you.
thank you.
Well, friends, I want to move on. I don't want to keep us any more than about an hour, and we're doing really well in our time today. So I want to introduce you to some of the work the leadership board has been doing. I'm going to take this off for a minute while I do this. On our ministry plan for 2021. We have, let's see, I got to move you around so I can see the screen here. So we've been crafting and listening for God and asking God to help us create opportunities for persons to move along a path of discipleship. And we've kind of been doing it around this hierarchy of needs. If you've studied Maslow's hierarchy of needs at all, this might look familiar. Basic needs, safety needs. So Maslow's needs are the basic safety, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. For us as a church, we kind of fall into these categories as well. As a church, we often provide basic needs: food, potlucks, food pantry, fellowship. We try to be a place of safety where there's no pressure. The physical building itself is safe. It is clean. The needs of belonging and community are met, small groups, knowing that you're not alone. Esteem needs, people get opportunities to volunteer and give back. And self-actualization, the point where we reach a point that says, you know what, I do feel good, I do feel I'm following Jesus, and now I want to give back and I want to help others along this faith journey. So one way that we talked about doing this, we introduced you to this last fall, was the Young Disciples Ministry. So for about a month now, myself, Judy, Sarah, and Ken have been meeting to talk about potentially hiring a youth pastor, for the lack of a better term. But this position is kind of evolving into a family-oriented position, not just for kids, realizing that our congregation is made up of grandmas and grandpas. So help wanted, you can see there, I gotta move you again so I can see the screen. So the main role of this person, lead the children, right now, lead the children, youth, and young at heart to deepen their relationship with Jesus. Primary work to coordinate with me, activities for WOW, and provide discipleships on Sunday morning. This is just a draft. There's still some work that needs to be done on this. Highlights, you can see kind of just a schedule that we've kind of come up with. We put together for about 10 hours a week what this person would be doing. I don't want to go through all of that, but ultimately it's about 7.5 hours, which leaves about 2.5 hours for community relationship building. This person would be key in forming relationships, not only with our church, but with our community. Attending school sporting events, attending plays. I know in a normal year, there's the youth expo downtown. So this person would be key in some of those events. The timeline we've started, we are in the middle of that March 1st through the 15th. We're working on finalizing some details, some proposal, looking for some funding. And we'd like to have the ALB approve like a job description, if we're able to, at our meeting this month. And then you can see that through the spring into summer, adjust the job description, raise the money, and we'll talk about the money in a second, but I know we set a goal of having 2 years of salary in the bank for this person before we hire them. You can see there the rest of the schedule. The goal is to have this person begin in the fall, November there of this year. What else can here's where we get into some questions. So we have some questions for you, our Young Disciples Ministry group. As I said, Judy, Sarah, Ken, and I. We came up with some questions that we want to hear from you for a couple minutes. As a church, I want to talk about the ones on the left side. As a church, what do we do for other people? Or what do you do for other people? And what do we offer as a church that people aren't getting right now? And how is the church something that is relevant in your life? How does the church fill that emptiness? If somebody would like to chime in, answer one or all of those questions, I would love to hear from you for the next few minutes. You're muted if you're...
What do we do for others? Well, we talked about the food pantry, and they're an excellent ministry, and lots needs to be said for them and appreciated. We do appreciate them. We have a visitation team that has provided calls and cards and contacts in view of the fact that we cannot personally visit. We have a team of people that do that. We provide for, we have a hospitality team that greets new people coming into the church. What do we offer as a church that people aren't getting right now? What do we offer as a church that people aren't getting right now? Well, we're not doing too much with childcare at this point, but I see the timeline envisions that, so that's a good thing. How is the church something relevant in your life, and how does the church fill the emptiness? The church to me is very relevant in my life. It's a top priority. It has filled a loneliness and emptiness from when I first came in to being totally fulfilled now.
Thank you, Dottie. Is there others?
I wanted to mention that I think the church, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I want to mention, I think the church offers people a group experience if they want that. Some people want the community feeling of getting together, and we have that when we're able to gather, and when we have things like our potlucks and our small group activity nights and things like that. And that also strengthens the bonds for people who want a little bit more individual attention. I think some people feel like they aren't heard, or they don't have a close relationship with anyone. And I think some of the things that the church offers, such as the card night or the book study or Bible study, or just we've had work groups that go out and rake leaves and things like that, and it's a chance to chit chat with people that you maybe normally don't get a chance to talk to very often. So I think the church offers a safe place for people to explore relationships with people they don't know well.
Very cool. Thank you, Marilyn.
I think many people consider themselves to be spiritual and do spiritual activities on their own, but I think the church offers a place where you can bring one light and put it together with many lights. And with the bigger light, you can do more for your community and for God's work. So I wish more people would realize that.
So these questions we're going to keep asking because I think these questions are going to be important as we go forward and try to discern what's the role of this person? Why do we need to hire somebody? Or even asking, do we need to hire somebody? The community questions there are some questions that we want to pose to our greater community, either in a survey or just us approaching other churches. We've done that. We've asked around at some other churches what they're doing, what their youth leadership's doing. One of the questions that I thought was very interesting was, what is it about our church that makes us unique? Because we're in a world of Lutherans. And what is it that sets us apart from them? And what is it about our theology that we offer that can bring people into a relationship with Jesus? So we don't have to have all the answers today, but I think this is something that that we can continue to talk about as a church and as a young disciples group. So you can always email me if you have thoughts on this too. As we talked, we asked some questions here. What are we trying to reach, or who are we trying to reach for the kingdom? What are we wanting for them? What are we wanting for them, and what are they longing for? And these were just some of the words that we came up with. And Marilyn, Deb, and others, this is what you're right in line with our thinking. That people are wanting community, they're wanting worship experiences, spirituality on some level, covenantal relationships, a relationship that says I am safe with you and I can be my authentic self with you. Family involvement. So you can see family on there a few times. Are there any initial questions on this? Or any initial comments? Let's move in then. Let's take a 1-minute stand and stretch break, and we will continue because we want to jump into the bounce back team after this. So let's take a minute and stand and stretch.
Dottie,
Yeah.
I want to thank you for sending on that information about the mission, women's mission.
Oh, I think that was Pam. Did
Oh,
I
was
say?
it? Oh, it was Pam. I know you
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah, well, I'm planning on attending.
Okay.
It sounds very interesting.
Yeah, you're right. It was Pam Duncan. Yep. Okay.
Are you planning on going?
I think it would be interesting too. Yeah.
Good.
So I'll read through it again, and I know that's into April, but got to plan ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
It looks like, are we all back or close to it? Thank you everyone for hanging in there. We're getting close. We're getting close to the end. I think this is the last item on our agenda. But this is the one that I think we're all like, what's going on? What's next? And this is the one that we will have a chance to practice what we had our devotion on, truly listening for God as we care for one another. I'm watching to see if everybody's back for the most part. So we are recording. So if anybody's missed this, we'll be able to pass this along.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes,
Yep,
Marilyn.
I see on the slide down at the bottom right-hand corner, there's an orange circle of something. What is that?
Oh, it's part of the graphic. It was supposed to look cool.
Oh. Okay, sorry.
I don't
See what
see
happens when you have young people put these things together.
Be nice.
Oh, that's right. You did that, Kathy. Sorry.
Oh goodness. All right. So our bounce back team over the last year has included these folks, and other folks have dropped in and dropped out over the time. So want to say thank you to these folks. We started, I don't know, 2 months after everything began. And then we started meeting every week, and then we shifted to every other week just because we were taking time just to check in with one another. And we didn't have a lot to update because we didn't want to rush into any decisions. So Ken and Russ here are going to take us through the first set of these slides just to talk about what the current status is. And then Deb and I have some from the spiritual connection to all of this. So Ken and Russ, just tell me when you want me to move forward on a slide.
Yeah, we'll do. So I want to kind of take us through a little bit of a journey. Where have we been? Where are we at now? And where do we think we're going? When I finish this, then there'll be some conversation about more the spiritual aspect of it. I tend to think of things more like an engineer, so it is what it is. So anyway, where have we been? We've had this extraordinary shutdown of Wisconsin and Dane County, which have started almost exactly 12 months ago. In fact, the last gathering in our sanctuary as the body occurred on March 15th. It was 1 year ago. And during that 12 months, we've seen experienced many challenges. We voiced some of those at the beginning, but we have witnessed some pretty amazing triumphs just within our church. Next slide, please. Some of the challenges we've seen in the last 12 months: the physical separation from those we care about and rely upon, dealing with the fear of this disease, finding meaningful ways to stay connected, supporting the members of our congregation in their times of needs. Lots of things have happened during this time, which are just part of the human condition. And we haven't been able to support people in death and sickness and all the other things that happen to us in our daily lives. And that's been a real challenge. We had some struggles with funding because of several of the big fundraisers that we typically rely on. And trying to figure out how to keep music alive within our community here, our church community. Next slide, please. But some of the triumphs that we need to really recognize and celebrate. We've seen the development of a robust and highly effective online ministry. Kathy and the worship team and the technology team were really ahead of the game from many of the churches, starting to do services online even a few months before COVID really hit. And it just has continued to snowball and grow. And I think Kathy was saying that our service from last week, we had 100 views of it. You know, that's really amazing to think about. In that way, we're reaching many new people through our online presence that wouldn't see and hear this message otherwise. On the financial side of things, we were able to stay in the black in 2020 through some really hard work controlling costs and through some tremendous generosity by the people in this community. And I think the thing that I never tire of sharing is just what a robust virtual music ministry that has grown up in this time. It's just is absolutely amazing. And I'm not going to try to name everyone that's involved because I know I would forget somebody, but you know, under the leadership of Deb and Kathy, and with a lot of support from Barry and others, it just has been amazing to see this. And if you look around there, we're the only church that's doing this, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's challenging, it's hard, it's certainly hard to do it right, and I think that it really has been done right here. Next slide, please. So where are we now? There appears to be an end in sight for this long journey. You know, I think we're all getting excited by the COVID numbers starting to get much better than they have been for months. As Kathy pointed out, you know, many have been fully vaccinated. Pat and I were both very fortunate to be able to get fully vaccinated and have very little in the way of side effects. And we're starting to see the Dane County government starting to ease restrictions in public gatherings, including church services. Next slide, please. But this is the caution. In our understandable enthusiasm to reunite quickly, we are in real danger of tripping up at the end of this long journey. So when I was trying to figure out how to express this and be realistic, be factual as much as we can, and it's been tremendously a tremendous boon to have Russ Dunkel as part of the Bounce Back team, particularly with his information that he brings straight from CDC and from the state and county health departments. But as you go onto the Dane County Public Health website, which I encourage you to do if you have any interest in all in finding out more about exactly what's going on now, because it is a very good website. They published on March 2nd a document called Forward Dane, and they do this periodically. And it had several key points on it that I thought were worth sharing here. The key points that I grabbed a hold of were there are significant and very concerning unknowns about the virus variants as the virus continues to mutate, and I don't want to get into the too deeply into the science of it, but we've all heard the stories about the virus starting to mutate and what that might mean. Hopefully everything continues going along well, but we need to be very conscious of that. The pace of vaccination is increasing, particularly with the availability of the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So those are real hopeful signs. Next slide, please. Another thing that we've heard a lot about is herd immunity. So from that document, their definition was the chance of COVID spreading is very low because enough people have been vaccinated or have survived having the disease. So they, with lots of caveats in their documentation, they went on to say it's believed that we'll achieve herd immunity when about 60 to perhaps as much as 90% of the population have been fully vaccinated. As you can tell, that's a pretty big band of uncertainty there. And much of that is because we don't really know how this particular disease is going to react over the long haul with our population. And it's unknown how the variants are going to affect things. So again, this is a slide that I took right from that presentation. There's 3 key numbers that they pointed out, but I think the most important one is the one in the middle. The percent of Dane County, and this is not the state, this is not the country, this is Dane County, that have been fully vaccinated. Now this was as of March 10th, so this is a few days old. We're only at about 14%. So again, 60% is the bare minimum before we get to herd immunity, and it may be as much as 90% is really what we need to be targeting. Next slide, please. So this information a little bit predates the information that was brought out by President Biden, and I have to say I love saying that. President Biden, I'm going to say that one more time. President Biden saying that the earliest we might reach herd immunity is midsummer. So they said between July and August is really kind of what they think is realistic. Hopefully that'll get better, and it may very well get better, but I think that's really the way we need to kind of get our mind going, because it's a lot easier to loosen restrictions than it is to try and tighten them up. They also went on to say that we may not reach herd immunity in this year at all due to the many unknowns, the effects of the variants, supply of the vaccine, and then the vaccine hesitancy. And I don't want to get too deeply into that. And this was something that really struck me when I read it. We're nearing the state. I mean, as we get close to the state of herd immunity, may only prevent large outbreaks. The consequence of that is that we can still have intense localized outbreaks, and this could include our congregation. So I think we need to be really careful about that and keep that in mind. So what now? What do we do next? As always, we need to use our brains as well as our hearts. I encourage you to read through the Forward Dane report. It's a very easy to read and informative document. But critically, we need to act with love for ourselves and for those we care most about. And as I look at your faces on the screen, you are certainly in that group of the people I care most about. And that's the reason why we are here, and why the Bounce Back team will continue to meet regularly every couple of weeks, and all are welcome. You're welcome to sit in for one session or 2 sessions, or for every session. We're all in this together, and we need opinions, we need advice, we need to hear from you. And know that if there are significant changes about COVID and our church's response, it'll be promptly communicated to the congregation.
I think this is where just to pause and say, in the middle of all of this, we are still the church. We've never stopped being the church. Just because we are not gathered in our sanctuary doesn't mean that we are not the church. In fact, we are probably more the church today than we have ever been. I think that's important to remember, and I love this image because we've been using this window as our backdrop for our services during Lent. This is something very important to all of us. So we need to take a moment and say, we are not doing this just because it's for health. We are doing this because God has called us to care for one another. Deb, you want to introduce our song? Or just to talk us through it?
I thought that this song is not only good because it's spring, you know, in nature, but I think we're in the springtime of our church life too here. I think you may recognize Hymn of Promise. Do we want to sing it quickly?
Nah,
No.
we could read it.
Okay, we'll read it. In the bulb there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter, there's a spring that waits to be, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see.
Hi, Tom and Lori, thank you. We're gonna have some time to talk at the end of all of this. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you for that.
So, as we've been saying, we care for another deeply. We always have been, and we do now, and we always will. So as Christians, we are committed to practicing the love of God and love of neighbor, which includes safely reopening our church.
Our gospel reading that has kind of been a center for all of this is Mark chapter 12, verses 30 and 31. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no greater commandment than these.
So keeping that in mind, we have to start thinking about the way we used to do our rituals and what the risk might be going forward. And we're just going to have to be careful and think of alternative ways, perhaps when we do return to in-person worship, of handling these things that now are becoming risks for ourselves, such as passing an offering plate, passing communion, handing out bulletins, opening hymnals, passing the peace with one another, and singing. All of these things may have to undergo some kind of change when we do reopen.
This is the slide that really struck me because I'm in the boat that says, well, I can go out to eat and I can go to the grocery store and I really want to go to church. But church is different. Church life is different than other civic life. We are not a transactional business. We don't come here just to take something and go. We come here to take and give and be and move and live and thrive. So that social and relational aspect, we are a family. We eat, sing, and worship together. So the challenge, I've heard pastors say it's even harder now to talk about reopening than it is to talk about closing. To talk about reopening even when there's still risk, and to have some sort of a safety plan in place.
Consequences. We are seeing the virus spreading unnecessarily when churches reopen too soon, when they don't have safety protocols. It's happened in South Korea. It's happening in states like Georgia, Texas, and Arkansas.
So we are talking though, here's some good news. Here's some hope, something to get you excited, I hope. Of doing gradual things, reopening gradually, outdoor activities. I'm moving our book study back outside our Thursday night class and holding a fellowship outside safely, talking about doing a parking lot worship for Easter Sunday. I should have a Holy Week schedule for you for by next Sunday. And if we feel like we can worship indoors safely, we will make that announcement when that time is right.
These are just some suggested guidelines from the Wisconsin Council of Churches. And I really like it that it's coming from churches, not from other aspects of our life. Of course, we know it's not safe to gather with no masks or no social distancing. And they suggest that we continue to make it safer by wearing masks with social distancing, outdoors or increased air exchange, low touch environment, shorter service, singing by worship leaders only, like maybe by 2 or 3 people, and focusing on sanitizing our surfaces as well as sign-ins and attendance. If we want to make it the very safest, we use all of those safe things, plus either no or minimize singing. We can still have hymns, but the hymns really should be just sung by the worship leader. It's still not safe to have large groups singing. Maybe we want to consider a hybrid phase of a plan, have some of both, or wait 1 month in between phases. Have a fallback plan just in case there are unexpected outbreaks. Have a communication plan and have team responsibility.
So there's some things, some benchmarks that your bounce back team will start considering as more and more get vaccinated. Unsafe to gather right now, we are there. Vaccination rates are less than 50%. Transmission, as you can see those numbers. Making it safer, 50 to 70%. I feel like that's a good benchmark to consider. But also that safest. So, but there's something to remember. Is this mine?
You blew this.
Sorry. There is no doubt the work of the church, and you have heard it today, you've heard it this last hour. The work of the church has continued during COVID. Worship has continued. We are celebrating our ministries. We are staying connected safely. I remember some of you might have received this. Over Valentine's Day, I delivered some hugs to some of our seniors and some people that I haven't seen in a year. I dropped off a hug to their front porch and I stepped back, and the thank yous that I received just for keeping them connected. And these are people that I'm sure are not on YouTube every week with us, but somehow they still feel connected, whether it's through Cindy and Sarah's visits, your own phone calls and cards, or even those porch deliveries. So we are being the church. I'm gonna stop sharing for just a minute here. I want to see, I don't know if I can do, so we are a small enough group here for a minute. I don't think we should break apart. Plus I can't figure out how to do it on multiple devices, sorry. I was gonna put us into some small groups to give us all a chance to share, but I think we're small enough gathered that we can all share. I know you wanted me to say we are opening for Easter Sunday. I know that. I want to say that, but I can't. But I do want to say, don't give up yet. Stay optimistic, stay hopeful, and know that Resurrection Day is coming, whether we are in this building or not, whether we are in our parking lot or not, whether or not we are wearing our masks or sanitizer or you name it. but Resurrection Day is coming. So let me ask this, and those of you from the Bounce Back team, I kind of sent you some small group questions. You guys can chime in with those, but just maybe we'll start with the Bounce Back team. Pam and Russ, do you guys want to share any thoughts, any reflections? And then we'll kind of go through those folks, and then we'll give everyone else a chance to share.
Well, one thing I want to, mention, it's actually when Ken went through the PowerPoint, is things that we're looking at both on a state and national level is the variants. There are 3 known variants globally. The one we're dealing with in the US is the B.1.1.7. The key with these variants is to also realize there's 23 mutations of that variant alone. So those are reasons we have to take a look at those and monitor closely. The other thing we're closely monitoring is there going to be any repercussions or fallout from spring break? So we have to monitor that closely as well to see what, from a population standpoint, that's going to happen. So it's not, as you mentioned, Kathy, it's not like we're keeping the church at a Zoom format because we want to, but it's because we need to keep everybody safe. And the last thing we want to deal with is anybody getting sick because we came back in person too soon and compromise their health. Because again, speaking from a medical direction, we don't know what happens for some people if they get COVID, right? They may get through it, but we don't know what long-term effects there may be as well. So we have to look at everything from that broad perspective. Do you have anything you want to say, dear?
Being new to the Stoughton United Methodist Church, this has been a strange time to try to integrate into a congregation. And I think Kathy and Deb have done just an awesome job of making the services so personal. Some of the ones, especially last summer when you were going around to different people's homes, to different places in the community, were some of the most spiritual meetings I've ever been with. So it's been incredible.
Thank you both. Tom and Lori, do you guys want to share anything?
I had just written a note as I was reading Ken's PowerPoint slides there, and the comment about the church ending the year in the black and having some generous donations. I think it's really important that we don't overlook those who weren't necessarily big and generous, but just consistent, and that we kept the consistent giving and attendance. And in some situations, the gifts grew and the attendance grew. So that's really I think a positive piece to think about.
Thank you. Dottie, you've been on the Bounce Back team. Anything you want to add?
No, I think we're taking the precautions that we need to. The safety of the people are very important. Nothing else.
You've heard from Ken, you've heard from Deb and I. Is there anyone else that would like to share this morning? Oh, Ricky, where are you? There you are. Anything you want to add?
Hope is a big word in my vocabulary. I understand where Ken and Russ are coming from, but at the same time, I'm very hopeful that we get together sooner than later, taking in all these precautions and all these variants. But again, we're looking at maybe the middle of summer, 1st of August, if things are looking good and the science is looking good and all these variants isn't taking place like we thought they possibly could, or affecting people as possibly could. That I think it's very hopeful that we can start church sooner than later again, and And I know Rusty mentioned something about this Zoom call and video, and I know it's necessary, but I'm tired of it.
Truth speak.
Yes.
Well, friends, this is a lot to hear, a lot to digest. We are way past our time this morning. Are there any burning questions that you need answered today? Otherwise, I'll ask you to email me and I can ask the whole bounce back team themselves, or any burning comments that you want to make about returning to worship, or returning to the sanctuary, or anything that you've heard today.
Can I just say something?
Go ahead, Ruth.
I think it's been a long, hard winter, although the time frame hasn't really necessarily been that long, but it feels like it's been much longer because of the weather and the fact that we can't get out and we can't do anything and we can't meet with people and we can't do this and we can't do that. And summer's coming, the weather is warming up and it feels nice and we want to get out. And with getting out, it makes you feel like you want to gather and get together with people. And I think we just all have to keep in mind that, yes, it's nice outside and yes, it's natural to want to get together with people. But I think we just really need to have a mindset where we remember that we have to be careful no matter what we do and where we go. Because it's not natural to not want to interact with people. It's very unnatural when we're amongst people near or far to not react with them or interact with them. So I think we just have to remind ourselves to be careful because we're all anxious and just really want to get out and get involved and stuff. So, and that might be hard to do for all of us at one time or another, to be careful. I don't know.
Any other comments today?
I have one comment. As I'm putting the gardens together, and taking in applications for people, maybe a little feedback from the bounce back team. I sent this question out to the ALB, but last year, what we did is we used every other garden space so people were a little farther apart. But I'm wondering if we can combine it, get people, use every garden space. This is something you don't have to answer right away, but think about it. And since everybody's outside, kind of put a warning out there that keep your social distance, etc. But that'd make it easier if we're putting the gardens together.
Tom, do you have a sense of how many people usually participate in this?
Well, last year, normally the gardens are pretty much full, but last year there were only about 4 participants, so it was pretty easy to spread them apart. This year, I'm not sure how many are. It seems like there's more already applying than there was last year. So,
how many spaces do you usually have to work with, Tom?
There's usually 20 spaces.
Okay.
And I noticed that the community gardens that the city has, they don't space everybody apart. I mean, they just did it the same way they did before, and they probably put a warning out just to keep your social distance. But just wondering what the bounce back team's feedback is on that.
They're not all there at once either.
Yeah, I think that's more key than anything else. Is
typically
if we spread it out time-wise,
Mhm.
I think. Yeah, but it's something we can look at the bounce back team. What kind of time frame or timeline are you looking at, Tom, for a response?
I'd like to get something within the next couple of weeks. I've kind of got a
Okay.
deadline of May 1st for people to get their applications in, so I know how many spots to plow up and things like that.
Oh, we'll put that on the agenda for next Sunday, because I think we're scheduled to meet next Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay, I would just like to say that these meetings are so important because we get a bigger picture, and there's so many people that have been working so hard, some that I'm sure that haven't even been mentioned. And the one that comes to mind for me is Nick Bratmeyer, because he's technology, he's our AV guy too with Barry, and they work together as a good team. But we just need to be thankful for all the people that even we forget to say, yep, they are there and they're working hard. But anyway, I'm glad so many could join today, and thank you for being the church.
Anything else for the good of our gathering?
Just a little comment on Sarah's comment. Thank you, Sarah, for all that you've done for all of these years. You are one of those people that we are very thankful for. And when people ask me about church, I think about some of these, and I'm going to say ladies right now, because those are a lot of the people that have influenced my spiritual life. But you are one of those ladies, Sarah, who's always been faithful and committed. And so I just am thankful for that today.
Thank you.
Yes. So this is the kind of stuff they don't teach us in seminary. So I'm glad to learn with all of you how to do this and how to be the church that we can be today. And how to be a church that's relevant and vital for our community, because we are relevant and we are very vital to the Stoughton community. So thank you for all of your hard work this past year. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll close with a word of prayer. Is there anybody who's feeling called to close us out with a word of prayer?
I'll say it.
Okay. Before you do, Ricky, is there any other closing comments or anything?
I ate a piece of chocolate here a little bit ago and it says hug someone today. So there are people that we can hug. So just, even if you can't do a hug, do a virtual hug.
Yeah, double mask will be fine.
Doctor.
Well, thank you everyone again. Ricky, thank you for praying us out today.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time that we can share together, share our ideas, and look forward to when we can all be together again and yet be cautious about it all. And we thank for everybody's input, how big, how little, and for all that we forget that we are the church, and we're grateful and thankful for that, and we look forward to for your continued guidance to lead us all during this time. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, everyone, thank you.